There's the Bredor Preservation Nature Trust, led by Mr. Grosvenor Blair. There's the Bredor Stewardship Society, led by Mr. Pat Bates. There's what we call CEPI, and it stands for Collaborative Environmental Planning Initiative, whose chair is Mr. Dan Christmas. And there's the Cape Breton University's Bredor Institute, under the leadership of Dr. Bruce Hatcher. And as I said, that's to mention a few, and they're wonderful. Now, to our next speaker. Dr. Yves Gagnon is not only the chair of the Fundy Biosphere Reserve in New Brunswick, but he is here representing the Canadian Commission for UNESCO. He serves on the commission as a member of the executive committee. He's also a professor at the University of Moncton, where he holds the K.C. Irving Chair in Sustainable Development. Mr. Gagnon.
Thank you, Dr. Teresa. Every good celebration needs a formal part, or a few formal parts. This is one of the formal parts of this celebration. So, Minister Bellevue, elected officials, distinguished representative of the First Nations, Mr. Chair of the Canadian Biosphere Reserve Association, distingués invités, friends of the Bredor Lake Biosphere Reserve. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here today to participate in the celebration of your designation as a UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve. On behalf of the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, I bring you our most sincere congratulations. Félicitations. I also bring the greetings of the Secretary General of the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, Mr. David Walden, who could not be here today, and who asked me to represent the Commission. Emerging during the Second World War and formally created in 1945, UNESCO stands for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. UNESCO's mission is to contribute to the building of peace, the eradication of poverty, sustainable development, and intercultural dialogue. UNESCO achieves this through education, the sciences, culture, communication, and information. You will have noticed that the word politics is not part of that list. By means of various programs and actions, UNESCO works to create the conditions for dialogue among civilizations, cultures, and peoples, based upon respect for commonly shared values. It is through this dialogue that the world can achieve global visions of sustainable development, encompassing observance of human rights, mutual respect, and the alleviation of poverty. Established in 1957, the Canadian Commission for UNESCO actively advances UNESCO's missions and mandate to contribute to peace and security by promoting collaboration among nations. The role of the Canadian Commission for UNESCO is to act as an autonomous forum of consultation and reflection to encourage and motivate governments, individuals, and organizations at all levels of the Canadian society to participate in and contribute to UNESCO's work in its mandated areas. Now, UNESCO is very well known throughout the world for one of its programs, the World Heritage Sites. Dans la région, le site de Joggins, la vieille ville de Lunenburg, le site historique national de l'Anse-aux-Meadows, le Parc national Gros-Morne, la ville fortifiée de Québec sont des exemples de sites du patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO. But UNESCO has another program, less known, but as much important as the World Heritage Sites program, and that's the World Biosphere Reserve program. Biosphere reserves are sites established by countries and recognized under the UNESCO's Man and the Biosphere program, the MAB program, to promote sustainable development based on local community efforts and sound science. As places that seek to reconcile conservation of biological and cultural diversity and economic and social development through partnerships between people and nature, biosphere reserves are ideal to test and demonstrate innovative approaches to sustainable development from local to international scales. It is important to stress that the designation and subsequent management of a biosphere reserve, like you have here, are very much a community bottom-up approach. Once a region obtains its UNESCO designation, the community still remains central to the management and the activities of the Biosphere Reserve. You will bring value to this international designation. In short, once a region obtains the UNESCO designation as a Biosphere Reserve, the community does not lose control over what they have worked so hard to build. Avec 580 sites désignés dans 114 pays, l'UNESCO est fier de ce grand réseau visant à fournir un exemple mondial en matière de développement durable, et votre réserve de biosphère apportera une contribution importante dans cette direction. The designation as a World Biosphere Reserve comes with obligations and responsibilities that extend into the future. Indeed, the next phases of development will include the continuous building of collaborations that was so successful in obtaining designation and the work you have done until now. Within a world network of 580 biosphere reserves in 114 countries, you are now part of a Canadian network of 16 biosphere reserves. Designations of biosphere reserves are not given lightly, and this is particularly true here in Canada. Indeed, the approach in Canada has always been based on quality rather than quantity. The Canadian Commission for UNESCO oversees this network through its Canada MAD committee. The Canadian Commission for UNESCO will always have an interested eye on what you are doing and how you are evolving as a biosphere reserve. In this regards, based on what we have seen in your proposal, we have no doubt that the Brador Lake Biosphere Reserve will reach its objectives and will contribute to building a better society, not only here in Cape Breton, but also in Canada and abroad. In conclusion, the Canadian Commission for UNESCO commends the work and the numerous volunteers who have contributed to the Brador Lake Biosphere Reserve. And again, we congratulate you all in obtaining this very prestigious designation, international designation, for your region. Longue vie à la réserve de biosphère du lac Brador. Best success and long life to the Brador Lake Biosphere Reserve.